Today I'm going to show you how to build my new NAS. And if you ever want to build a cheapskate NAS using as minimal parts and as cost as possible, here's how you can do it.
Mother. We'll do it live.
Yo, this is going to be a bit of a squeeze. So I've got my old file server on the Raspberry Pi 3b+. I've got my new Raspberry Pi 5 and the new external drive hooked up via USB 3. Anything that's a power brick is just super aggravating. I would have really liked to run this off PoE, but the PoE shield costs almost twice as much as just getting the USB-C power brick.
So why are we in a server closet messing around with this Raspberry Pi and a bunch of disks?
For those of you who follow my short, you notice I've been cutting a little bit of video lately. It'd be really useful to have the raw footage from past shoots, but there's a little bit of a problem in that 1 hour of 4K video is like 25 gig, and keeping a huge volume of video on my laptop's SSD isn't going to be sustainable in the long term. So the typical IT nerd thing to do would be go buy a big NAS. And sure, I could do that. I probably would do it if I was doing this as a professional career, but this is a hobby for me. I'm not going to drop $5,000 on a big QNAP or Synology NAS simply to store some video for my fun little channel. But I could build my own solution. Been there, done that. It aged me terribly. Let's think carefully. We don't need high performance or even reliable performance. I'm not editing video off for NAS, so I haven't got a team of editors doing workflow. I just need enough data bandwidth that I'm not waiting a long time for files to transfer to and from my laptop. And I don't need much resiliency. I already back up the finals that I take, and my B-roll content and raw content isn't so valuable that it justifies buying extra disks for backups and redundancy. Now sure, I could put a drive on my desk here in the office, but problem one, you see my desk, it's a mess. And number two, a drive on the desk means I'm tethered to the desk. Maybe I want to work from the lounge, or from a dining room, or maybe from the shower. Now I really hate hard drives because they are slow, noisy, power hungry, expensive, and inevitably always fail. But if you've got to stick 16 terabytes of raw video content somewhere, it's still really the only practical, affordable method of doing so. So here we are, one more spinning rust.
Doesn't the sound hard drives make to remind you to invest in backups if your data is important?
Raspberry Pi is on the network. It's got the storage drive attached. We've encrypted it, so it's all protected. Installed Samba on the server, and we're good to go. Let's see how it performs.
You might have noticed earlier in the video that I had a Raspberry Pi 3b+. Well, I had to upgrade to the 5 because the 3b Plus only does USB 2.0, which is about 480 megabits. Sounds kind of fast, but 480 megabits is only 60 megabytes a second, and a hard drive can run at maybe 150 on a sequential operation. And so the 3b Plus was really holding back performance. But there's also another big thing is if you look at the at least USB side, you can actually see the 5, there's two distinct controllers for each of the two USB 3 ports. First up, let's do a benchmark of the Raspberry Pi 5 with the new Seagate 16 terabyte drive. So this is over a gigabit connection from a laptop and the Pi, and it comes in at about 2.5 minutes, which is effectively about 60-70 megabytes a second. And yeah, no, that's not like super fast compared to like enterprise storage. But let's have a look at the old Raspberry Pi 3b Plus on USB 2.0. And wow, I mean, you know it's bad, but until you see the numbers, you don't quite realize how bad. That's doing at a whopping 14.5 megabytes a second. I mean, it still works, but it's worth spending the money on getting a more modern machine. I think there's limits to how cheap you want to do, at least it's something USB free.
So we can test it out on max speed now. I've got a USB 3 NVMe drive. In theory, we should be able to saturate the network performance with this.
So yeah, this is coming in at 76 megabytes a second. Look, that's still not great, but it shows that, we're not bottlenecking on the disk. Not for the most part, we're bottlenecking on the network. So how much is actually the network performance versus the FMB protocol? Well, here I'm doing a copy test over SCP over SSH, and I'm already getting a faster performance. I can see I'm coming around 85 megabytes a second. So yeah, there's maybe some tweaking I can do to Samba to get it a bit quicker. I mean, GPT reckons that's pretty good, although that guy's full of shit half the time. You can also isolate the Pi itself. So this here is a direct copy from one drive to another, which we can see is doing around 150 megabytes a second. Right, so with benchmarking done, I've removed the old server. I've now got both drives attached to the one Pi5. Each has a USB controller, but I could probably squeeze them on the one bus if I ever needed more drives in future and fit a couple more in there.
It ain't super pretty, but nothing beats a wired connection when you want actual performance.
And from here, my laptop's all set to go to connect to the NAS and exchange files as required.
I had an issue where the Seagate drive wasn't spinning down when idle. Now that's important because these are external hard drives. They're not designed for 24/7 operation like a true file server would be. And so when they're idle, which they often are for, days on end, I want them to spin down and be stationary and prolong the lifespan. And for whatever reason, the Seagate doesn't do it out of the box. It doesn't even follow standard HD param commands. But there is a good third-party utility that I found, HD idle tool. I'll link to it in the description.
The downside of having hard drives go to sleep, though, is the very first time you access them, you can wait, a good 10, 20 seconds for them to spin up. It's a little bit annoying, but it's hardly the biggest problem in the world. And it gives years more lifespan to your drive by not having it spin constantly for no need. Hey, thanks for humouring me with my adventure down tech. I'll be back to some adventure content soon, so make sure you subscribe to get those future videos. And let me know in the comments what kind of sketchy setup you run at home for storage.
Also, can we talk about this connector? This is the USB 3 connector that external hard drives use. Why not just ship it with USB-C? It's 2025. Give me a USB-C cable, please. Why the heck does the Pi not come with a USB-C port still? I mean, it does have one on the side for power in, but it's not a data port. And they give me 2 3 ports and 2 2s. Why is one of these not a C? Like, if I've got a USB-C flash drive for my laptop, it's not going to work on this. It just seems a bit short-sighted, Raspberry Pi. Especially when they give me 2 micro HDMIs, which seems like the weirdest, most useless connector possible. Recording and editing this tech video is probably the hardest one I've done to date, and it nearly killed me, so big shout out to Jeff Geerling and other interesting YouTubers who post detailed technical videos day in, day out. That is brutally hard.